The impact against cold metal reverberated through her bones. Jade Collins found herself pressed against the lockers, three towering figures blocking any escape route. Their hot breath invaded her space as the leader stepped forward, fists clenched with barely contained aggression. "Think you're tough, charity case?" Blake Harrison's voice dripped with contempt. Jade met his stare without flinching. Her eyes held something those boys couldn't recognize, the calm intensity of someone who'd spent years in a boxing ring, studying opponents, calculating angles, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. But this wasn't Chicago. This was Fairmont High, where her scholarship depended on keeping her head down and her past buried. "You have no clue what you're dealing with," she whispered, her hands already positioned in a subtle defensive stance her body couldn't forget. 3 weeks earlier, everything had been different. Jade adjusted her worn backpack straps, staring up at Fairmont High's imposing brick facade. Luxury vehicles lined the parking lot, depositing students whose designer outfits cost more than her mother's monthly paycheck. The contrast to her crowded Chicago school couldn't have been starker. "You can handle this," she muttered, pushing down the anxiety threatening to overwhelm her. Inside, the guidance counselor led her through spotless hallways, past trophy cases overflowing with gold. Mrs. Peterson's practiced smile barely concealed her assessment. Another mid-year transfer, another scholarship kid unlikely to fit in. "Fairmont has resources to help you adjust," Mrs. Peterson assured her, though the subtext was clear. "Don't make waves. Know your place." American literature became Jade's first class. She slipped into the only empty seat, hyper-aware of curious stares tracking her movements. Expensive clothes, perfect hair, the uniform of wealth surrounded her. Jade tugged at her thrift store sweater self-consciously. Whispers buzzed around her. Another scholarship case. That sweater's definitely second-hand. She won't last the semester. Jade had expected this. Her mother Rebecca had warned her that Fairmont represented a different universe. But the scholarship offered possibilities their Chicago life never could. Rebecca's new hospital job meant stability, actual rent money, escape from endless eviction notices. Jade had survived worse than privileged teenagers with sharp tongues. The lunch bell brought her first real test. The cafeteria resembled an upscale restaurant more than a school dining hall. Jade claimed a corner table, unwrapping her homemade sandwich. That's when she heard the commotion. A tall boy with styled hair loomed over a smaller student. 2 others flanked him, one with red hair and a wrestler's build, another with a football player's thick neck. "Where's my calculus homework, Rivera?" Blake Harrison's voice carried across the sudden silence. "I need another hour. The problems are complex." The smaller boy's explanation died as Blake shoved him against the wall. Danny Rivera clutched his textbooks like armor, glasses crooked on his face. "Please, I'll finish by last period, I promise." "Know what happens when people break promises to me?" Blake leaned closer menacingly. The entire cafeteria watched with detached interest. No teachers appeared. No one intervened. Jade felt familiar heat spreading through her muscles, years of training awakening instinctively. As Blake's hand fisted in Danny's shirt, Jade stood. Her chair scraped loudly, drawing attention. She crossed the cafeteria with measured steps. "Leave him alone," she said, voice cutting through the tension. Blake turned, surprise giving way to amusement as he assessed the newcomer. His dismissive gaze traveled from her worn boots to her second-hand clothes. "Well, looks like we have a hero." His smile held no warmth. "First day, and you're already sticking your nose where it doesn't belong." "He said he needs an hour. Seems reasonable," Jade replied steadily, despite adrenaline flooding her system. "And what do you know about how things work at Fairmont?" Blake stepped toward her. "I know bullying when I see it." The red-haired wrestler, Kyle, moved closer. "You hear that, Blake? The new girl thinks you're a bully." "This isn't your business," Blake warned, invading her personal space. Jade's body automatically shifted into fighting stance, weight balanced, hands relaxed but ready, core engaged. Years of training took over instinctively. "I'm making it my business," she said simply. Something in her posture registered with Blake. Uncertainty flickered across his face, quickly masked. "Whatever. Rivera, homework by last period or things get uncomfortable." They sauntered away. Danny looked at Jade with mixed gratitude and horror. "You shouldn't have done that. They'll make your life miserable now." "I've handled worse," Jade shrugged. "I'm Danny. Danny Rivera," he extended his hand. "Jade Collins." She shook it, noting unexpected calluses. Not so soft after all. "First day, huh?" No one else would be crazy enough to stand up to Blake Harrison. His dad's on the school board, owns half the businesses in town. "Classic," Jade muttered. "What's with the homework thing?" Danny's voice dropped. "They make me do their assignments. Have for 3 years. It's either that or daily beatings. You should report them." Danny laughed hollowly. "To who?" "Principal Adams golfs with Blake's dad every weekend. The teachers look away. The Harrisons practically own this town." As Danny showed her around, pointing out invisible social boundaries, Jade recognized familiar patterns, the powerful preying on vulnerable, systems protecting the status quo. "I'm here on academic scholarship," Danny explained. "Full ride. My dad's a mechanic. Mom works at the diner downtown. My mom just started at the hospital cafeteria," Jade offered. "Dad's not in the picture." Danny nodded without pity, just understanding. "It's tough being the poor kid here. But I'm top of my class. Princeton early admission is my ticket out." The rest of the day passed in a blur. By final bell, Jade's head throbbed. She trudged toward the bus stop, already dreading the long ride home. A sleek black BMW pulled alongside. Blake Harrison sat behind the wheel, Kyle and Ryan in passenger seats, all three staring with calculated menace. "Bus ride's long, new girl," Blake called. "We could give you a lift." "I'm good." "Too good for us?" His voice hardened. "That's funny considering your wardrobe screams clearance rack." Jade continued ignoring them. "We know who you are, Collins. Trailer trash from Chicago, thinking you can play with the big kids. This won't end well." Jade finally turned, meeting his gaze directly. "Are you always this obsessed with new students? Or am I special?" Kyle and Ryan snickered. Blake's face flushed. "You made a mistake today. Nobody embarrasses me in my school." "Your school?" Jade raised an eyebrow. "Pretty sure Fairmont taxpayers might disagree." Blake's face reddened with anger. "You have no idea who you're messing with." Jade stepped closer, leaning down to look him directly in the eyes. For a brief moment, she let the fighter surface, the one who'd stared down opponents without flinching. "Neither do you," she said quietly. Something in her expression made Blake flinch. He recovered quickly, forcing a laugh as he revved the engine. "See you tomorrow, Collins." The BMW peeled away as her bus arrived. Jade boarded, finding a seat in back. She'd made an enemy before her first day ended, but she'd also made a friend. In her experience, that counted as a win. The bus traveled from Fairmont's manicured neighborhoods to modest outskirts where she and her mother rented a small duplex. Each passing block brought smaller houses, older cars, less pristine yards. Home wasn't much, 2 bedrooms with faded carpet and dated appliances. But after years of Chicago instability, even this felt like luxury. Rebecca stood in the kitchen, still in her cafeteria uniform, preparing dinner with weary movements. "Hey, Mom," Jade called, dropping her backpack. Rebecca looked up, fatigue lining her eyes, but she smiled warmly. "How was the first day?" Jade hesitated. "Different." "That fancy, huh?" Rebecca's expression turned knowing. "Let's just say my wardrobe won't impress anyone." Rebecca sighed. "We knew it would be an adjustment. But that school is your ticket to opportunities I never had. A chance at college without drowning in debt." "I know, Mom. I'm not complaining." Jade grabbed water. Just stating facts. Those kids live in a different world. Rebecca reached out, tucking hair behind Jade's ear. You can compete with any of them where it counts. The rest is window dressing. Later, alone in her bedroom, Jade pulled a worn shoebox from under her bed. Inside lay remnants of her other life. Hand wraps, mouthguard, newspaper clippings, photos of her in the ring with gloves raised in victory. Chicago Junior Boxing Championship medals. She ran fingers over the items, longing hitting her chest. Boxing had been her salvation in Chicago, her outlet, her identity. Under Coach Mendoza's guidance, she'd found discipline, purpose, self-respect in a neighborhood offering little of any. Now that life was over, no more daily training at Mendoza's gym, no more tournaments, no more feeling the perfect connection of glove to target. Her mother had been clear. This move meant new beginnings, leaving behind Chicago's rough elements, fitting in somewhere better. You're a student now, not a fighter, Rebecca had insisted. We need to blend in, Jade. Boxing reminds people where we came from. Jade understood the reasoning, even disagreeing. Her mother wanted options beyond what Chicago offered, beyond the path that made Rebecca a single mother at 19, working multiple jobs just to keep a roof overhead. But as Jade returned the box to its hiding place, she wondered how much of herself she'd have to erase to fit into Fairmont's world, and whether the price might be too high. Morning came with blaring alarm. Jade rose before dawn, slipping into workout clothes. In the small living room, she cleared space and began her routine, shadowboxing, push-ups, core work. Not the same without a bag or ring, but something. As muscles warmed and breathing found familiar rhythm, her mind traveled to Chicago, to the first time she'd walked into Mendoza's gym. She'd been 12, skinny and furious at the world. Her father had disappeared 6 months earlier, leaving nothing but debts and broken promises. After her third school suspension for fighting, Rebecca made a desperate decision. Instead of grounding her daughter, she dragged Jade to Coach Mendoza's gym. If she wants to fight so badly, Rebecca told the skeptical coach, teach her to do it right. Mendoza had been reluctant. This isn't daycare or therapy. But something in Jade's determined expression changed his mind. 3 rules, he'd told her. 1, you fight only in this gym, never outside. 2, you respect everyone here regardless of size or skill. 3, you never quit. You start this, you commit. Understood? Training had been brutal. For months, Mendoza wouldn't let her spar, just endless drills, conditioning, technique work until her body screamed. She'd hated him sometimes, but never quit. Gradually, hatred turned to respect to something deeper. Mendoza became the father figure she'd lost, demanding, tough, but unfailingly present. The gym became sanctuary from a world determined to break her family. And Jade discovered she had talent, real talent. By 14, she was competing. By 15, winning championships. Now, completing her improvised workout far from familiar sounds and smells of Mendoza's gym, Jade felt hollow ache beneath her ribs. Boxing had given her more than trophies. It had given her identity, purpose, community. She'd promised her mother to leave it behind, but Jade wondered if that was even possible. Boxing wasn't just something she did, it had become who she was. The shower's hot water washed away sweat, but not memories. As Jade dressed for her second day at Fairmont, she made a silent resolution. She would respect her mother's wishes. No boxing gym, no competitions, no revealing her past. But she wouldn't stop training. Couldn't stop. And if trouble came looking, as it had yesterday with Blake, she wouldn't pretend to be helpless. Days turned to weeks. Jade established routines. Morning training, careful navigation of Fairmont's social landscape, afternoons helping Danny manage the crushing workload he completed for his tormentors. Blake had stopped overt hostility, instead adopting backhanded comments and calculated smiles. But Jade sensed him waiting, gathering information, assessing weaknesses. Friday afternoon found Jade and Danny in the science lab completing a chemistry experiment. As they worked, the door banged open. Blake, Kyle and Ryan sauntered in, immediately filling space with tension. "The brain trust hard at work," Blake drawled. "How touching." "We're almost finished," Danny said carefully. "Did you need something?" "Just checking on my favorite tutor." Blake perched on a lab table. "Making sure you're not slacking on my biology project. It'll be done Monday, like we agreed." "See? That's the problem." Blake picked up a glass stirring rod. "My dad's taking us to the lake house this weekend. I need it before we leave. Like now." Danny paled. "That's impossible. The research alone sounds like a personal problem, Rivera." "We're in the middle of our own experiment," Jade interjected, keeping her voice level despite building anger. "Danny can't drop everything because you didn't plan ahead." Blake's attention shifted to her, expression hardening. "Still inserting yourself where you don't belong, Collins. 1 week here and you think you understand how things work." "I understand bullying," Jade replied evenly. "Doesn't require long orientation." Kyle stepped forward, wrestler's physique imposing. "Why don't you mind your own business?" Jade felt her body automatically adjusting stance, weight balanced, hands relaxed but ready, core engaged. Fighter's instinct impossible to suppress. "Danny is my lab partner and friend," she said calmly. "That makes it my business." Ryan laughed harshly. "Did you hear that, Blake? The new charity case has adopted him." "Touching." "Rivera knows his role here," Blake replied, standing from the lab table. "Don't you, Danny?" Danny stared at their experiment, conflict visible in every line of his body. "The biology project," Blake continued, voice dropping to silky threat. "Tonight, or our arrangement ends along with your perfect record." Jade had seen enough. She stepped between Blake and Danny, forcing Blake back. "The project will be done Monday as agreed, and you'll be grateful to receive work keeping you from failing." Genuine surprise registered on Blake's face. Then his expression darkened. "You really don't get it, do you, Collins? This isn't Chicago where you can throw around empty threats. There are consequences here. Real ones." "Is that what you call consequences?" Jade challenged. "Having Daddy make phone calls when you don't get your way?" Blake's face flushed. He nodded to Kyle, who moved with surprising speed. Before Jade could react, Kyle grabbed their notebook containing experiment data and tossed it into the sink, turning on water full blast. Ink ran down the drain as hours of work dissolved. "Oops," Kyle said with mock concern. "Lab accident." Danny made a strangled sound. "That was due Monday. We can't recreate all that data in time." "Should have thought of that before your guard dog started barking," Blake replied coldly. He turned to Ryan. "Show Rivera what happens when he forgets his priorities." Ryan moved toward Danny, who backed against the lab bench, eyes wide with fear. Jade reacted without thinking. As Ryan reached for Danny, she stepped between them, one hand coming up to block Ryan's arm with trained precision. "Don't," she warned quietly. Ryan blinked in surprise, then recovered his bravado. "Or what?" "You'll hit me. Please try. My dad's lawyer would love to meet you." Jade didn't move, maintaining the block, keeping Ryan from reaching Danny. Years of training taught her leverage over strength, position over power. "I won't have to hit you," she said with calm she didn't entirely feel. "Just move away." Kyle circled, attempting to flank her. Jade adjusted her stance slightly, maintaining awareness of all three boys' positions. Ring awareness techniques translated perfectly to this moment. Always know where every threat stands. Never get backed into a corner. "Look at her," Blake said with amusement and calculation. "Standing like she's in some action movie. What are you, Collins? Some kind of street fighter from Chicago's slums?" Jade kept her expression neutral, but internally cursed. Her body had betrayed her, falling into familiar fighting stance without conscious thought. "Just someone who doesn't like seeing 3 against 1, she replied. Blake studied her with newfound interest. "There's more to you than the scholarship sob story, isn't there?" "I can see it now. The way you move, the way you stand." He stepped closer. "What are you hiding, Jade Collins from Chicago?" She held her ground, breathing steady as she would between rounds. "Nothing that concerns you." "Everything in this school concerns me." Blake's voice dropped to near whisper, "especially mysteries that walk in on scholarship and don't know their place." He reached out suddenly, as if to grab her arm. Jade's reaction was pure instinct, a subtle shift of weight, precise redirection of his momentum that left Blake off balance without her appearing to move aggressively. Blake stumbled, catching himself on the lab bench. His eyes widened with shock, then narrowed with dangerous speculation. "Well, well," he murmured. "Definitely more than meets the eye." The confrontation escalated until voices approached from the hallway. Danny's quick thinking and the arrival of their friends, Maya from art class and Devon from computer science, interrupted what could have become much worse. In the aftermath, standing in the rain at the bus stop, Jade realized her carefully constructed anonymity was crumbling. Blake was suspicious now, curious, and in her experience, curious adversaries were often the most dangerous. That evening, she told her mother about Blake's investigation into her background. Rebecca's response surprised her. "Maybe it's time to stop hiding," her mother said gently. "You haven't done anything wrong. Those years with Coach Mendoza taught you discipline, focus, resilience. Never be ashamed of that." For the first time since arriving in Fairmont, Jade saw her mother's true feelings about boxing. Not embarrassment, but complicated pride. "I thought you wanted me to forget all that," Jade said quietly. "I wanted you to have more options than just boxing," Rebecca clarified. "To see yourself as more than a fighter. That doesn't mean denying the strength it gave you." The revelation came sooner than expected. Monday morning, Jade woke to her phone buzzing with notifications. An anonymous email had been sent to the entire student body, subject line, "The real Jade Collins." Inside was a compilation of her boxing career, tournament results, news clippings, photos of her in the ring, gloves raised in victory. Headlines proclaimed her achievements in Chicago's boxing scene. A video showed her championship bout from the previous year, winning by technical knockout in the second round. The message at bottom read, "Scholarship student or trained fighter." What else is she hiding? Blake had moved faster than anticipated, compiling her boxing history and distributing it school-wide in clear attempt to isolate or intimidate her. When class ended, Jade walked into hallway buzzing with speculation. Students parted before her, some looking frightened, others curious, all watching for her reaction. Danny appeared at her side, protective outrage radiating from him. "This is crossing a line, using your private history as gossip fodder." "It's okay," Jade assured him. "I was expecting something like this." They rounded a corner to find Blake, Kyle, and Ryan waiting by her locker, eager to witness her response. "Morning," Jade said, voice steady as she reached for her combination. "Busy with computers today, I see." Blake's smile faltered at her composure. "Thought the student body should know who they're really dealing with, a trained fighter hiding among us." "Hiding?" Jade opened her locker methodically. "Interesting interpretation. I'd call it not leading with my resume." "You deliberately concealed your background," Blake pressed, raising his voice to attract passing students' attention. "Why?" Ashamed of being a glorified street fighter, Jade turned to face him directly, maintaining the calm she'd cultivated between rounds. "Boxing is a disciplined sport with rich history. Olympic sport. Builds character, focus, endurance." She smiled slightly. "But you know that already. You did your research." I wonder what the scholarship committee would think about your omission, Blake said. Academic integrity and all that. The scholarship application asked about academic history, not sports, Jade replied evenly, but you're welcome to inquire with the committee. Blake's eyes narrowed at her continued composure. He'd clearly expected embarrassment, anger, or fear, not this quiet confidence. People deserve to know who they're dealing with, he repeated, someone trained to hurt others. Boxing isn't about hurting people, Jade corrected. It's about skill, strategy, discipline, qualities serving me well in the classroom too. A crowd had gathered, watching the exchange with undisguised interest. Jade remained focused on Blake, whose frustration at her refusal to be rattled was becoming apparent. So you don't deny it, he challenged, that you've been fighting since you were 12, that you've knocked people unconscious? I've competed in a regulated sport with trained officials, safety protocols, and mutual respect between opponents. Jade closed her locker, turning to face the growing audience. Yes, I was a boxer in Chicago, 4-time junior champion. It taught me discipline, perseverance, and how to face challenges head-on. She looked directly at Blake, including this one. Murmurs spread through watching students. Jade could see the narrative shifting. What Blake intended as exposure of shameful secret was transforming into something entirely different. You should watch the championship video, Danny called out, finding his voice. She's amazing. Technical knockout in the second round. Several students nodded, already pulling out phones to revisit the link from the email. Blake's face darkened as he realized his plan was backfiring. This isn't over, Collins, he muttered, low enough only she could hear. There's more to find. Always is. Throughout the day, Jade weathered waves of curiosity from classmates who'd previously ignored her. Some approached with genuine interest in her boxing background. Others maintained new wariness. By lunch, she was mentally exhausted from navigating sudden attention. She found Danny at their usual table, now joined by Maya and Devon. Hope you don't mind company, Danny said. Maya and Devon wanted to meet the boxing champion of Chicago. Bit of an exaggeration, Jade smiled tiredly, but nice to meet you both. The conversation shifted, but Jade remained aware of subtle change. Her table, once just her and Danny, now included others drawn to what her boxing past represented. Not violence, but ability to stand one's ground. After school, Coach Barrett cornered her outside her final class. "Why didn't you tell me?" he demanded, barely containing excitement. "That you're a legitimate boxer, 4-time Chicago junior champion?" "I didn't want to draw attention, Coach." "Well, that ship has sailed." He crossed his arms. "I watched that championship bout twice. Your footwork, your timing, exceptional. We don't have boxing here, but we do have serious girls' track. Your conditioning, that explosive power, you'd make an excellent sprinter." The offer caught Jade off guard. "I don't know, Coach. I'm focused on academics." "Think about it. Scholarship athletes have better college prospects, and frankly, talent like yours shouldn't be wasted." Days later, Jade received an unexpected invitation. Dinner with Blake's father, Robert Harrison, at the town's fanciest restaurant. She brought Danny along for support. To their surprise, Robert Harrison wasn't threatening or intimidating. Instead, he offered them both summer internships at Harrison Properties. "What you did, standing your ground, defending yourself without excess, showed character," Robert said. "The kind Blake could learn from. It was unprecedented. The man whose name carried ultimate authority at Fairmont was praising her, offering opportunities, implying criticism of his own son's behavior." Walking out of that restaurant, Jade felt something shift. She'd earned recognition on her own terms, based not on family connections or money, but on strength of character and actions. A month later, sitting on her front steps with her mother, Jade held 2 letters: the Harrison Properties internship offer and Coach Barrett's track team recommendation. "I've decided," she told Rebecca. "I'm accepting both. The internship and track team. I'm not leaving boxing behind, just adding new tools." Her junior year had been a crucible, forcing her to confront who she was versus who she'd been pretending to be. She'd arrived as a fighter trying to hide her strength. She would continue as a student, athlete, friend, and force for change, bringing her full self to every challenge. In Mendoza's gym back in Chicago, her name remained on the championship wall. But now in Fairmont, she was creating a new legacy, one built not on hiding or fighting, but on standing firmly in her truth. The boxer's code she'd learned extended far beyond the ring. It was about discipline, integrity, and courage to face life's opponents on your own terms. Some battles were worth fighting, others were worth transforming. Jade Collins was ready for both.